Hello and welcome to Learn with Avik show. At Learn with Avik, you learn about trading research topics, about job searching, how to proceed with the job application, and we also resolve your queries, whatever you share with us. Today we'll be learning about how to prepare effectively a resume, what all things you need to follow while preparing your resume. So why to wait for? Let's get started. Hi, welcome everyone. So today we will be learning about how you can prepare your resume, what all things you need to follow while preparing your resume. Because the resume is the key point or the key thing for your job interview call, right? Also, I have heard from most of the candidates that resume, CV, biodata. So what's all this about? So everything we will learn in detail. Okay. So let's start with the common questions which we used to get to know from everyone, every candidate. Okay. In my entire HR career life, I have I have checked almost 6,000 above keys and also connected with most of the candidates for the interview. So from there, what I have learned, what I have gathered, I am sharing with you everyone. So definitely it will be an added advantage for you for preparing your resume. So now we'll clear a few things. First of all, we often heard about type of resume. Okay, I don't know if you have heard about or not, but yes, many of us have heard about type of the resume. Some call it as creative resume, some call it as functional resume, some call it as traditional resume, and so on. Okay, so the question arises: is there any resume called traditional, functional, or maybe the creative resume? Okay, so we are not going into this controversial thing, but yes, there is something called resume or CV. So CV and resume both are same thing. Both are same thing. Both the purpose of both are same. But why we call it called CV and another we call as resume? So CV is something where the detailed information about that candidate is mentioned. So CV can be of 5 or 6 pages as well. But when you come to resume should always be short and crisp. So in one word we can mention as to the point, right? It's a sentence called to the point. Now, when we say resume, so resume should be always short. So resume needs to be to the point and focus on the particular skills and the relevant skills. So this is a thing. It's a kind of maybe the confusion or maybe the question which always arises. And I also been asked from many candidates that what are this kind of resume. So I guess now you have a clarity about what are the types of resume. So I'm not going ahead with type of the resume, but yes, there is something called resume, okay, which is very important for your job application. Now we'll move towards how you can prepare this. The main thing is why resume is required because you need to apply for the job application which you want to apply for. Right. Now, when you want to apply for a job, this resume or the cover letter. Cover letter is a new thing which has come in, and it also has some good aspects as well, right? So, how you can prepare that resume because the resume actually reflects your behavior, your experiences, your skills which you have. So all those things, your resume uh, is kind of picturization kind of thing. So whenever you share that resume with anyone, so any recruiter or maybe the HR personnel can gauge that how the person is or what are skills that person or maybe candidate is having, how much experiences that candidate is having. Okay, so these things. So we need to prepare the resume in such a manner that it attracts the recruiter, it attracts the HR. So what all things we should keep in mind while preparing a resume? Okay. So now the thing is, suppose we take an example, right? Right. Whenever some scenario is there, some important thing, some attractive thing is there, what actually attracts in our eyes? Okay. We always get attracted to something which is bigger in size and which is somehow different from others. That means unique. Okay. So what is the uniqueness in a CV? The uniqueness in a CV or the resume is your name, right? Your name, your one person can be having of that name only. Yes, there are other person who is having same name, but the name actually is the unique thing in your resume. So always highlight, I mean not highlighting, so always mention your name, always mention your name in bold and heading 2. Okay. So whenever you go to Word file or any of the typing documents or the software, you can definitely see there is called a heading 2, H2. So you can utilize that H2 for your name. So first thing which definitely comes while writing a resume is your name, your address, where you belong from, your contact details, means your email ID and your contact number. Okay, these are the 3 things which are very very important, and it should be always mentioned at the top. It should be always mentioned at the top. Whether you mention on the left hand side of your resume or maybe in the center of your resume, that doesn't matter. What matter is your name, your contact details, and your location needs to be mentioned here. Okay? Because this is the thing which actually attracts first. Next will come down to where you should mention about the summary. Summary is something. Suppose you have 3 years of experience into something. Okay, so there you can mention it like having 3 years of experience. So you can mention your like details, like what have you done, but it needs to be in a shorter way. Now, like much attractive keyword needs to be there, because you can't mention a whole story over there, right? So your summary needs to be within 3 or 4 lines max to max. Okay. So after you complete your summary, you should come down to list your skills, which is very very important, because skills are the actual thing which every organization, every HR person needs to check. Because suppose we are hiring for a HR person, okay, so the keyword for that position what they have already fixed, so those key skills needs to be there. So the HR person or maybe the ATS needs to find all those skills which they are actually looking for. Okay, so this is a very important thing, and you should mention your topmost skills in chronological order. Okay, right? So you should mention at the topmost skills which you have at the top, then you just come down. Okay, after you mention your skills, so skills can be 5, skills can be 10 as well, that doesn't matter. But yes, what matters is if you have 10 years of experience, or 10 years of experience, even 5 years of experience also. If you are having 5 years of experience also, I have seen personally in a resume where people used to mention the skills as Microsoft Office. It's needed, it's not required. Because if you are having 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, so it doesn't matter, because any way or the round, people or the recruiter knows that if you have those number of experience you have, that means you will have those skills already. Otherwise, you won't be having that much of experience. You won't have worked as well, right? So it's needed to mention. So you should always mention the skills which are relevant. Okay, so that is the reason I always mention you need to focus on things whenever you write your resume. Anything you do, focus is the main thing, right? So after you jot down your skills, after you mention your skills, it's the time where you should mention about your work history, work experience, past experience, right? So how you mention it? So if you have experience, then definitely you have to mention the experiences. But if you're a fresher, then instead of mentioning your work history, because you won't be having the work history, so in that case, you can mention your summer internship details. Suppose you have done summer internship from XYZ organization. Okay, so you can mention that XYZ organization done this from this to this, and what all things you have done. So that's it. That's it for fresher. But if you have experience, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 years of experience or more than that, okay, so you can jot down the organization name. You can mention your like experiences level, what all things you have done, the roles and responsibilities you have maintained over there. So all those things you can mention on a bullet point, okay, so that they also look nice, professional, and it also helps the recruiter to read and understand what exactly you have done. So this is very important. It's not important how you are mentioning it, but it's important how you are portraying your roles and responsibilities, your skills, to that person who will actually evaluate you based on your experiences, based on your skills. Okay, so this is a very important thing. So after you mention, so always mention your experiences in a reverse chronological order. So reverse chronological order means, suppose you have worked in 5 organizations, so the last organization will come first. So I guess most of you have heard about when during your school time, maybe during your college time, you have heard about FIFO and LIFO. Okay, right? So FIFO is first in, first out, and LIFO is last in, first out. In this case, LIFO will apply. So last in, first out, right? Means the last organization will come at the top, and the first organization will come at the below, at the bottom, right? This way you can mention your work experiences. So after you mention your work experiences, then what to mention? Then the actual scenario happens. What should I mention? So this is the question. I have got this question from 10 to 12 candidates. I can't take the name right now because it's not handy with me right now. But yes, I have got this question that how should I mention it? Because after work history, what should I do? What should I mention? So after your work experience, you have mentioned your work experience. Then what you can do is, if you have any experiences into projects, if you have handled any project. So this is very much beneficial for the IT industry people, IT guys, who actually work into the projects. Okay, so a lot more projects they also handle. Even operations people as well, they handle a lot more projects. So it's very easy for them to mention, but like employees or maybe the candidates who are not from this department, maybe from other departments, maybe some other functional supporting functions, right? So how they can mention it? So they can often mention like any extra thing they have handled apart from their roles and responsibilities or the KRAs. They have handled something, they have taken some initiative, or maybe they were involved in some of the other thing, or maybe the project as well. Even for HR, if you have handled employee engagement, that also is your skill, right? Employee engagement is also a skill of yours. Okay, so you can mention all those things. You can mention all those things after your work history, right? So after you mention that, then it becomes very much kind of casual, not casual, and not fully professional as well. But we need to mention the professional, right? Because there is the professional person. So after you mention all those things, you can mention, what you can mention is, do not mention the references or something, mention what are your hobbies, right? What are your hobbies? So if you are into photography, you like photography, maybe fashion photography, maybe the nature photography as well, you can mention that. If you like to sing, you like to dance, you can mention that. Also, apart from this, any certifications you have done, any certifications which are relevant to your profession. Like, suppose I am HR. Okay, my certification should be into either into data analysis, analysis of data, maybe into some Excel sheets, because as an HR operation, you need to maintain a lot of data. So in that case, having an certification for the Excel and all will definitely add value. So like this, we can mention for IT industry, there are a lot more softwares are like coming or developing. If you have that experience, if you have done any certifications, you can mention that. But do mention whenever you have those certificates with you. Do not fail. This is very important. After you mention your certification, you can always mention the achievements you have. Okay, so like if you have done something different, like into marketing field, if you have onboarded, if you have created something for IT also, if you have done something, some software in HR, if you have done some recruitment some budgeting, some employee engagement things, which actually change something, right? Any value you have added, and for that if you got something like maybe the award, maybe the certificate, maybe appreciation. So those things you can mention, but try to mention those things which are actually relevant to your profile. Okay? Because we are making your professional things. Okay? We are not jotting down things what you have done. We have to show that yes, this is the position I'm applying for, and this all relevant things, relevant skills, relevant experiences I have, and I am mentioned over here. You can check it down. So your resume is acting like a sale, right? You're selling yourself. You're not yourself. You're selling your knowledge. You're selling your skills to the organization, right? This is very important. Yes, so these are things you should always mention. You should always mention. You should always focus on. You should always keep in mind while preparing your resume. Now, it is always better. It is always better to go ahead with any professional resume writer. Okay? But if some if you are into problem or something, if you want to go ahead with yourself, so this is the reason I have shared some basic details with you, so that if someone wants to go ahead by themselves, you can definitely write it. But yes, you should always think about while writing using of the keywords. So if you have not seen my previous video, just go to my profile, take my previous video into ATS, where I have already mentioned how the resume gets shortlisted from ATS, and what are the things as a job seeker you should always keep in mind, right? So you can always go back and take it on the side. Okay? And these are things. These are very important things. Apart from this, there are very, very simple things are there which can actually make the resume look good. There are a few things I would like to mention. Few things, which is while using the font, while using the font, you should always use two size fonts. Okay, you should always use two size fonts, one for heading and one for the description, right? So there is no size is mentioned, no sizes are mentioned that this much size should be there. But yes, anything which looks good is better. Okay, like this, there's a color part as well. You should always mention two colors. You should always use two colors in your resume while you prepare your professional resume. Okay, so one color which is always common is black, which is universal color. Okay, it's always acceptable and it's a professional color, right? So these are the two things, and there are two more things which are very, very important. Out of two, one is your resume should be within 2 pages only. It shouldn't exceed 2 pages. Okay? If you are completing your resume in 1 page, that is well and good. If you are not able to complete in 1 page and it's going to 2 pages, that is also fine, but it shouldn't exceed the 2 pages. Because the maximum limit is 2 pages for resume. Because there is no time for the recruiter to take 4-5 pages. That is why it's called resume. From CV, it has come to resume. Right. And another most important thing, the most important thing is your resume should have the keywords. Right? Because if you are not having those keywords, your resume will not get shortlisted. Right? Because nowadays, 90% organizations are using ATS, application tracking software. Okay, so what that ATS is, you can definitely go back and check my previous video, right, where I have already mentioned everything. So this keyword thing is very, very important. You should always focus on this thing. You need to search, you need to work, and if you need any help, you can directly connect with any professional resume writer. They can definitely help you. Okay. So today we have learned, I guess this thing actually added some value while in your life, because nowadays we are all most of us are struggling to get something, and by following this, if someone of you get a good job by preparing your resume to get some good job, you definitely let me know. I will be happy to hear that, because if my initiative is changing something, changing someone's life to make them better, I'll be the much happier person to do that. And for anything, any query related to the same, if you want to ask anything, you can definitely comment below and you can definitely ask me. So one tip I would like to share with you before I leave. So the tip is never ever let the perfect be the enemy of your good. I'll again repeat, never ever let the perfect be the enemy of your good. This is a very, very good sentence. I guess you have understood it. So never lose focus. Stay focused. Do what exactly you want to do and find out what all things the best you can do it and what the best skills you have. So mention all those things. Because organizations, anywhere, any part of the world, people look for the best, not the better. The best has the first chance. So always try to become the best, and for that you need to be focused. Till then, be happy, be safe, and always be happy.